Think about it. Think about it.
And welcome once again to High School Basketball Weekly. Tim Maury alongside of Rick Bua. And Rick, it's hard to believe that we have reached the final week of the regular season of the high school basketball season. And we got so much to talk about concerning the upcoming Western Mass playoffs and the state tournament. So let's get right into it and talk a little bit now about the girls' action. And we're going to flip over to Mount Greylock, Rick, because Greylock, one of the probably at this point the only team that we know will not be in playoff action as they finished their regular season with a sub-500 record.
Yeah, they played 4 games last week, Tim. They dropped 3 of 4. Their big win was against McCann, but we'll take them one at a time. They lost to the Hornets on senior night down at McCann, a game we covered on Northern Berkshire Community Television. 41-28. Freshman Charlotte Cootie and sophomore Abby Scalaba each only with 6 points. So it was a tough shooting night. They had a hard time getting anything going. Defensively, they played really, really hard. But McCann was the better team that night, and that's why they play the games. So, but the next night, the very next night, they hosted the Drury Blue Devils. Drury was fresh off a concisive win up at Drury against Agawam, and Greylock came away with a 39-36 victory. Scalaba with 13 and Cootie with 12. So the sophomore and the freshman have been shining for a long time for Coach Jacoby this year. And even though you mentioned, Tim, they have a sub-500 record and won't be participating in the postseason tournaments this year, they certainly have a very bright future. They lost to Hopkins 43-36, which was a very, very good close ball game. Again, Charlotte Cootie led the way with 15, and they lost to Springfield ICS, the winners of their league, 63-26. So Coach Jacoby, even though he didn't get the record he was hoping for this year, always fighting for that 500 record towards the end of the season, just fell a little bit short. But nevertheless, he's got all his kids, with the exception of Tessa Levesque, the only senior, coming back next year, which is very bright for his program.
No question about it. He has a very, very, very strong foundation there at Mount Greylock, and he's going to be a team to be contended with over the next few years. Another school that has fared well over the last week and has qualified, we believe, both for the Western Mass tournament and the state tournament, the Lady Devils from Drury, Rick, finishing the regular season with a record of 10-8.
It was a very different season for Coach Ian Downey. Instead of starting slow, his kids came out of the gate pretty good and suffered their first loss against Hoosick Valley in a game that I thought they stayed in there pretty well. You know, it wasn't a decisive victory for the Hurricanes. It was a hard-fought, I think, a 12-point win for the Hurricanes against the Blue Devils. But then they rebounded nicely, and they were 5 games over 500 for the early part of the season, and then slowed down a little bit and kind of hit a rough spot towards the last quarter, I would say, or third of the season. But they avenged a loss to Agawam that they knew they could compete with, and lost at Agawam without Kayla McGrath. She was out with an injury. And Drury won that ball game up at the Bucky Brilla Jump 58-31. They led 26-10 at the half and 50-16 after 3 on a team that was just behind Springfield ICS, vying for first place most of the season. And I talked to Coach Downey, and he said, Rick, my kids played insane basketball. What he meant by that was very good basketball. They played, he said, incredible defense. The shots were fired. The turnovers were very limited. They did everything he asked them to do. They put it all together on that night. Unfortunately, 24 hours later, traveling to Williamstown, took one on the chin against the Lady Mounties, 39-36. In that game, Jacinta Felix, the outstanding freshman, led the way with 15, and Kayla McGrath added 10. Then they rebounded off that disappointing loss and did gain that berth, Tim, in the D5 tournament and the MIAA tournament, Western Mass tournament, by knocking off Mount Everett in Sheffield, 54-24. McGrath led the way with 14. Felix had 11. Alyssa Russell, 9. and Lauren Davis had 7. So all in all, a 10-8 overall record for Drury, 7-5 in their league. They actually tied with Agawam and Belchertown for second place behind Springfield ICS. So overall, pretty good season. You never know what's going to happen. We don't know at this time until the seedings come out where the Drury girls will be, but they will be in the Western Mass tournament and the state tournament.
Right. It's we're going to go over that a little bit in just a moment. It's yet to be determined. The Western Mass tournament, of course, next week. You want to be checking your local newspapers and iBerkshires to see the schedule for the Western Mass tournament, which Drury will be in. Another team that's going to be in both tournaments, Rick, the Hoosick Valley Hurricanes, Lady Hurricanes, finishing the regular season 15-3, and they get at least a share of the girls' Suburban League title. And they had a good week, although they stumbled at Monson.
Yeah, they were 15-3. On the paper I'm reading off of some of my notes, I have them as 10-1. I forgot to put their second loss in. We'll talk about that in a second. But they got by a very good South Hadley team, 57-53, in a very, very good ball game. No surprise, the senior Avery McGrath, their leader, with 17. Gabby Billets, girl we talk about every week on this program, about her agility underneath, how she dominates the boards, how she outlet passes well, rebounds extremely well, always gives you 6 to 10 points, as I say. But she had 15 that night. Rylan Whittick had 11. And then they clinched at least, as you said, Tim, at least a tie in the girls' Suburban League by defeating Amherst, avenging their only loss at that time, 66-56. McGrath with 21, Billets with 12, Ashlyn Schur, the upcoming freshman point guard, with 11, and Whittick and Taylor Garabedian each had 8. So some nice balanced scoring there for Coach Holly McGovern's girls. And in the regular season finale, ran into some foul trouble, from what I understand, Tim, and you could talk about that for a second.
Right.
As they got upset on the road by Munson, 49-44, Whittick with 20, and Taylor Garabedian with 14. But nevertheless, as you and I talked off camera before the show tonight, I kind of said it really might not have been a real bad loss. You might get a loss out of your system as you're going into postseason play. And Avery McGrath was not a factor in that game, but she will be in the tournament for sure.
Right, yeah, Munson playing a boxing one on McGrath in that game. A lot of fouls called, an inordinate number of fouls were called, according to Coach McGovern on the Hurricanes. There were some 26 fouls called in that first half, and just inordinate for any kind of high school action. But it is what it is. They finished the season at 15-3. We're going to go over their rankings. They're just waiting to see who their opponent is. They're going to be seeded number 1. Both in Western Mass and in the state tournament. So congratulations to the Hurricanes there on a fine season. It's just a matter now where they end up. Another team that's going to be on the bubble, Rick, the Hornets from McCann. We talked about them all season long. Of course, they were missing Izzy Lacasse for a good portion of the season, but they had a great final week here. They're on the bubble, so to speak, with respect to both tournaments.
Yeah, the Hornets ended up, they were 8-9 going into the game last night at home against Lee, so they dropped that one. I'll talk about that in a second. But they ended up 8-10 overall, but they were 4 or 5 games under 500 and have played really well the last couple of weeks. They defeated Renaissance 41-14. Izzy Lacasse led the way with 16. Hannah Boisvert had 12. They won their 4th straight game by defeating Greylock, as I said, on senior night down at McCann, 41-28. Kathy Budai, the Hornets coach, said one of the best games they played all season against a very good John Jacoby Lady Mountie squad. Lacasse led the way with 24. Macy Tatro had 9. They went down to Lee and played very, very well. Held right with them the first 2 quarters and in the 4th quarter, and a little shaky third, and that was enough to make the difference as they dropped a 48-36 decision to the Wildcats. Lacasse led the way with 17. Defeated Hamden Charter 45-20, Lacasse with 11, and Reagan Rose knocked down 3 3-pointers for 9 points. So it's good to talk about another Lady Hornet in there. And then again, last night down at home in their home finale, dropped a 44-27 decision to the Lee Wildcats again. So they dropped 2 to the Wildcats, but the Wildcats are going to tie first for their league with East Hampton, and they knocked off East Hampton, gave East Hampton the only loss of the season. So East Hampton ended up, I believe, at 17-1, and the Lady Wildcats gave them their only loss. So overall, McCann 8-10, and 3-9 in the league. Did play without Izzy Lacasse most of the season, but you know what? I bet you it helps some of the other kids, grow, like Hannah Boisvert, like Macy Tatro, like Addie Heyer, and they got some experience and they learned how to play without their leading scorer, their point guard, and we're very respectable. And Coach Budai has got to be pretty pleased with her kids.
Absolutely, and although she played an abbreviated season, she had quite a week last week, Rick, and Izzy Lacasse is our Girls High School Player of the Week for her outstanding efforts over this past week.
Yeah, and you think about Izzy too, and what I've seen her this year in limited action, she's very, very unselfish, and I want everybody to understand that. She holds the ball a lot. She's the point guard. She tries to penetrate, get into the lane, and gets fouled a lot, makes a lot of her free throws. She can also knock down the three or the short jumper, but she is as happy as passing the basketball to an open player as she is scoring points. And that's what you like to see in a basketball player and a leader. But she had an incredible week, as you can see on the screen. And for the second time this year, Izzy Lacasse, the senior from McCann, is our Girls Player of the Week.
And congratulations to Izzy and the McKeon Hornets. And Rick, we're going to see if her season will continue. We'll take a look at these rankings on the girls' side, in terms of conference play and the state tournament. And there they are. And you see the Girls Central League there. Springfield ICS, they are ranked currently number 3 in the state, but there's Drury right there behind it. There's a 3-way tie in the conference. And so you look at that, and that was a very, very competitive conference there for the Central Division and for Drury.
Yeah, we didn't know who was going to win that one, but they did bunch up. Agawam took some tough losses later in the season. Drury started to rebound a little bit. Belchertown came on very, very strong. And that's a good league. And in the Franklin West, you can see the Lady Wildcats, as I spoke about a few minutes ago, tying with East Hampton for that league. And then the girls Suburban, Hoosick Valley. Amherst has got 1 to go, so if Amherst wins that last ball game, they will tie the Hurricanes with Wacona right behind. But those are incredible teams, as you can see there. Logically, ladies and gentlemen, the dark, bold black print is teams in Berkshire County.
Right, and so you look at that girls Suburban team there. You've got quite a lineup of teams that are going to be all in the state tournament that right now qualifying, except for Hampshire. So it'll be interesting to see where they play out. McCann Tech, that's a team I'm very interested to see, Rick. On the state side and Western Mass side, of course, it's the top 8 teams in each division that get in Western Mass. It is the top 32 teams that automatically qualify on the state side. And there you can see, interestingly there, Rick, on the D5 girls, of course, Hoosick Valley and, of course, Taconic plays in Division 5 for the state tournament. And then you see Lee out. Lee has had a good run in Drury there at number 7. Now we're waiting for the latest rankings to come out to see where everyone ultimately ends up. And then you'll go scroll down there, and you got McCann Tech, Rick, at 28. And I think they're going to hang on to a top 32 spot by virtue of the week that they had, Rick. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully, McCann Tech will qualify.
Yeah, when those pairings come out any time now, Tim, Hoosick Valley will remain number 1. Not sure about Taconic and Springfield ICS. There could be a swap there. And look for the Lee Wildcats to move up.
Right. Yep.
I don't see Drury being any worse than 7 or 8.
Right. I agree with you on that, Rick. I think because of the strength of the schedule Drury played, ultimately playing in Berkshire County, they should hang on at least to the 7th spot. And we're going to know more, obviously, when these final rankings come out. We're waiting for the latest rankings. They could be out any moment now. But that's the story on the girls' side. And there you see it. On the boys' side, Rick, it gets just as interesting. And we had a great week. Of course, everybody working hard to finish up the Drury boys. there you see a little bit. We'll talk more about the boys' rankings after we go through the teams here in a moment. We're going to start off on the boys' side, Rick, because we think all the 4 Northern Berkshire teams are going to qualify for tournament play. In fact, we know they're going to qualify for tournament play. Let's start off with Mount Greylock, Rick. They did what we thought they were going to do, and they had a real run at the end of the season here.
Yeah, they finished 10-0 in their league, winning their league, 14-4 overall. And since our last broadcast, Tim, the Mount Greylock Mountie boys won all 5 of their games. They are all bunched in together.
Right.
They punched their ticket into the State 5 tournament by defeating Smith Academy 59-53. Chase Doyle had 19 points and Adam Sandifer had 16. They beat Turner's Falls 62-31. Jackson Powell had 15 and Chase Doyle with 14. They finished the Hampshire League North undefeated, as I said, at 10-0 by beating Smith Academy for the second time within a few days, 62-56. Doyle again leading the way with 22. Max McAllister and Jackson Powell each had 12. They beat Mahar 56-35 when McAllister 18 and Doyle 15. And then they won their 6th straight game and 8 out of their last 9 by defeating the McCann-Tech Hornets 44-39 in Williamstown. Doyle with 14 and Jackson Chelsea with 13. So a lot of different names there, but the one common name, Tim, was Chase Doyle, who had an incredible week, 5 games.
Yeah, he did. And Chase Doyle, looking at this, Rick, he earns our boys high school player of the week, Chase Doyle, for an outstanding week. And this young man's had a great season over at Mount Greylock, Rick.
Yeah, he has. Just a good overall ball player. Don't know that much about the young man. I haven't seen him very much this season, but has led the way the majority of the time. And Coach Thistle over there, he's gotten balanced scoring from a lot of kids that step up. So they're a force to be reckoned with in the tournament. I thought they were set perfectly in their league, that's for sure. The teams that they did lose to are quality teams like Monument Mountain, Hoosick Valley, Drury. I'm not quite sure who the 4th one was, but no shame in those losses, but very dominant in their league this year. And that does not surprise me with a Coach Bob Thistle team.
Yep. Another team that's had a great season. Again, these boys in Northern Berkshire, McCann-Tech Hornets, they finished the regular season, Rick, 12-6, 9-1 in their league. But they and having done that, they were really lost 3 or 4 games during the past week. But they had a tough schedule.
Yeah, the Hornets did. They played 4 games during the week. They took it on the chin. 3 of those games. They lost at Lennox, 54-32. Cole Boisvert led the way with 11 for the Hornets. They bounced back very quickly by defeating Westfield Tech on the road, 47-43. Senior Owen Gagney had 14, and Jake Howland, the outstanding point guard, the sophomore, with 12. They lost their first Tri-County game. They, like Mount Greylock, were trying to ride in undefeated in their league, and unfortunately, the last game in their league, they dropped a 54-39 decision at home to Mount Everett, and Howland had 21 in that game, and lost to Mount Greylock in their most recent game, in game number 18, 44-39. Howland with 14 and Walter Mazza had 12. So Coach Bullitt overall, 12-6, nice record,
right.
9-1 in the league. Great job, Coach Bullitt. Congratulations to you and your squad, especially, and I've mentioned this on this program many times in a conversation I've had with Coach Bullitt. He was very concerned about what he was going to have this year just based upon kids coming back with any kind of varsity experience. Cole Boisvert, the senior, only had a little bit as a sophomore. Owen Gagney had a little bit as a sophomore. There was no basketball at McCann last year. And so based on that, with some of the youth he has coming up with Walter Mazza and with Jake Howland, he has a bright future. And they're in the Western Mass tournament.
They certainly are, and it's well-deserved for McCann. Team that I talk about a little bit now, Rick, a team that we question whether they were going to get to the necessary win total to get an automatic berth in the state tournament, Hoosick Valley. But they went on a little bit of a run, had some big wins. They had a week where they went 2-2. They finished well, they have one last game with Pioneer. They stand 11-6, 7-5 in their league, but they've qualified for this Western Mass tournament, and they have played everybody tough of late.
Yeah, they have. We'll start off with their first win of the week, as they did get that 10th win, the win to get them in the state tournament and the Western Mass tournament by defeating East Hampton 78-47. You're going to hear the same names over and over again, but so deservingly so. Senior Carson Meswar, the point guard, with 21, the outstanding sophomore Frank Field with 19, and the sharpshooting sophomore Joey McGovern with 17. Also, Caleb Harrington chipped in with 11, and they've got the two big scorers in Meswar and Field. And when McGovern gets some open looks, that lefty can throw those threes up. He's very, very good. He's also good slashing to the hoop. And when you get anybody, whether it's Sean Castor or Caleb Harrington or whoever, that can contribute 5, 7, 8, 10 points like Caleb Harrington did, that just makes Coach Robinson's team even much better. They did lose their second game in a row to Bay State Academy, 55-50. They hung right with the winners of their division. Carson Meswar with 24, Frank Field with 11. But then they bounced right back and beat Hampshire 65-46. Field with 23, Meswar with 22. So those kids, I don't have their averages right in front of me, but they're both very close to 20 or over, and they've maintained that. When you sustain something like that over a 6-game season, well, that's one thing. But when you do it in an 18-game season, that's a pretty incredible feat. And as you said, Tim, they've got game number 18 against Pioneer over in Northfield. And, if they just play Hoosick basketball, they should come away with one, and that would make them 12-6 and 7-5 in the league. And again, once you've got two kids that are giving you 40-some-odd points night in and night out, that's a good basis and a good foundation for a win.
Yeah, they played everybody tough of late, and I say they're the team that probably nobody's going to want to play come tournament time, because they seem to be able to hang with everybody right now. So Hoosick Valley, of course, they'll be looking to see, we'll go over that again, where they potentially could be seated both in the Western Mass and the state tournament. The Drury Blue Devils, Rick, we covered them last night on senior night at Hopkins Academy. It was a great atmosphere up there, and congratulations to Coach Reset and the Blue Devils. They finished off a great regular season at 14-4, and they won their division, the Hampshire South, and it just had a great year, and they are sitting in prime spot here come tournament time.
With what you and I saw last night up there, that's a team I certainly would not want to play either. They're playing very good basketball. They had a great week. They played Mahar at home, took care of business down there earlier in the season quite easily, and came away with a 70-50 win at the Bucky Bullet Gym. Senior Ben Moulton led the way with 24. Louis Gelati had 19. Timmy Brazo had 12. Again, night in and night out, like most of the other schools in Berkshire County, the ones we talk about here, they get the same kids that lead the way in scoring, at least. They defeated Pioneer Valley in a game that was broadcasted on Northern Berkshire Community Television, 72-59. Again, same three. This time it was Gelati leading the way with 22. Brazo with 16, Moulton with 15, and Amont David chipped in with 10. And then they won the Hampshire South with the game you and I broadcast most recently, as they knocked off Hopkins Academy, avenging an earlier season loss down in Hadley, 66-45. It was 11-10 Drury at the end of one, and then Drury broke away a little bit and maintained a 15-18 point lead pretty much the entire game. On senior night, it was a really nice night last night up at Drury. Right. Gelati with 20, Moulton with 18, Brazo with 14. But I want to talk about three of the other seniors, Anthony Pettengill, Zach Davenon, and Logan Davis, that we may not talk about because of the scoring, but my goodness, I can't tell you how much value those kids add to that team with rebounding, hustle, loose balls, defense, steals, assists. They all played incredible basketball.
Right, they certainly do. And they provide so much energy to the Blue Devils, especially on the defensive end of the floor, Rick. And they create so much chaos. It makes it very difficult for opposing teams. And that was the story last night, is they really bottled up a talented Hopkins Academy team, and Hopkins just could not get untracked.
No, they shot very, very poorly in the first quarter. It really never got any better. So, what you and I saw in the first quarter, pretty much, that's the way the game was played for all 4 quarters. It wasn't, one team better in one half and one team better in the second half. Drury was, they hung pretty even in the first quarter. Other than that, Drury was the much better team last night. If there was a surprise loss that the Blue Devils had this year, it wasn't so much to Frontier at home. Frontier came in with their full team, with their big 6'7" junior center, and they took care of business, and they were the better team that night. But I was a little bit surprised when I knew Andrew Siagalo, the outstanding Western Mass guard for Hopkins, did not play against Drury in the first game, and they still beat Drury by 6. I was a little bit surprised, but again, that was a game that was filled with fouls. Key of the Drury scorers were on the bench, and they never did recover. But that's why they play twice, and Drury did avenge that loss. Played very good, and they look very strong going into the Western Mass tournament next week.
They certainly do. And speaking of Western Mass tournament, let's take a look at the league standings again and the rankings. And again, hats off and congratulations first and foremost. Taking a look at Drury, they win the Hampshire South by beating Hopkins Academy last night. They claim the outright title to the Berkshire South, and they should be sitting in the number 1 spot in their bracket in the Western Mass tournament. And of course, you see Lennox down there. I think Lennox will qualify for Western Mass as one of the top 8 teams in Division III in their bracket. I believe they're in with Drury, as well as Mount Greylock on the other side of the ledger. Congratulations to the Mounties, Rick. They won the Hampshire North.
Yeah, 10-0. Great season. I think they were placed in the proper league. As far as the Hampshire South, as I said, Tim, some incredible basketball teams there in Division V. Drury, Hopkins Academy, Frontier, even Lennox. Pioneer Valley really hit a slump at the end of the season, but they have a nice team. And Greenfield, the Green Wave, boy, did they come on strong the last 2 weeks and knocked off some big teams. They beat Bay State Academy, and they earlier in the season gave Hopkins Academy a loss.
Right.
So, that's a tough league. McCann Tech, even though they suffered that 1 loss to Mount Everett, they didn't come unscathed at 10-0, but they did end up 9-1, 12-6 overall. And then the toughest of those 3, but the Bi-County East, Bay State, followed by South Hadley, Waconin, who's a Monument, all great teams, very, very good teams. Somebody has to finish first. Somebody's going to finish 5th there, and you can see a Monument, but any of those teams on any given night could knock each other off.
And all 5 of those teams have qualified for Western Mass, and they qualified for the state tournament. And there you see on the D5 boys side, again, Taconic will play in D5. Which will be interesting to see where they flush out. You got Bay State Academy. I think they're going to stay. The flip-flopping could be Drury flip-flopping with Bay State, and maybe Hoosick Valley jumps over Paulo Freire. But
that'd be good.
Next week is we don't have the game set up yet. The Division V quarter and semifinals, so Division IV quarters and semis will be all next week in the Western Mass tournament. You're going to have to check your local news sources for listings and games. We're hoping to be there covering those, Rick. We know one of the sites of the tournament will be at MCLA, the finals, next Saturday. So you want to check your listings, and we'll be there for that. We don't know the times, etc., but hopefully the local teams will be there. And, of course, High School Basketball Weekly. You can see it every night at this time, Thursday at 7:30, Saturday at 10 o'clock, and Sunday at 7. So we got a big week of action next week in high school basketball. We hope to be covering a lot of it here at Northern Berkshire Community Television. But we'll see you next week on High School Basketball Weekly.